Welcome to round 2 of the NextGolf tournament that I am currently doing in this off season. There are 7 total rounds, and today's is at the Royal Ontario Golf Club. And you're going to see that this opening drive is certainly not the best way to start a round. These are very narrow fairways at this course. I've never played it in real life, even though I'm from Ontario, but I completely missed this one. Left myself in a super awkward spot here, but something that's really important to do with golf is to think creatively. So instead of trying to go up and over the trees and just kind of leave myself a really long approach in on this par 5, I decided to just use this open space that's on the hole to the right side. It's just parallel with the hole I'm on. I hit it past a couple tee blocks there. I'm pretty pumped about this spot because it's a nice, easy, straight look into the green, and it's only a 120-yard shot as I stumble on my words. But a beautiful strike, leaves it into the gimme range, and unconventional dance moves to go along with an unconventional birdie. So there's that. And for the second hole, I decided to set up a little bit further to the left just in case I pull the driver again. And this one felt like a really good strike. And you can see I'm not even watching it because I thought it was going to be right down the middle. And then I look up to notice it did pull even harder to the right. One thing I've noticed on this TrackMan simulator that I often use is it does feel like I have a lot of shots that end up coming hard to the right for me. And I don't know if it's because the setup is on the ground instead of an overhead one, but it's just something you have to work with when you're doing indoor golf. So I try to hook it around this tree because I wasn't fortunate enough to have an empty gap like the last hole. Didn't quite draw that time. So now I'm just left wondering, what the heck do I do today? So the third shot in is a little bit lower than I expected. Didn't quite get any spin because it was coming out of that rough. And then the problems with indoor golf, I find, are short game. So chipping and putting in particular, I find quite frustrating. But thankfully, this is a nice little lag putt that I think is going to stop in the circle, and it does not. And unfortunately, you will see that sort of reaction several times in this round. I am going to give you a little heads up that it is a frustrating round for me because there are a lot of little things that just add up to big problems. And you will notice a lot of them happening on greens. So this third hole is a par 3. It hits pretty short, doesn't get a lot of bounce up there, so I'm left with a bit of a pitch on here. And this is what I mean about the short game. It can be pretty tricky. Normally I'm very confident with this range when I'm actually out doing real golf, but I got no spin out of this shot. Another putt that just sort of hammers through. You can tell that I'm already really struggling to figure out the speeds of these greens. And that second putt almost misses that gimme range again. So there's a lot of that I find is a real issue as I try to adjust to indoor putting. But thankfully, I do adjust this driver properly on the next hole. Absolutely smash that one down the fairway. And I collect some tees that end up falling behind the screen here. So you get a nice little look at my tushy as I come back to the ball to hit my approach shot. It's just under 170 yards to the pin here, so I've got an 8-iron that I'm just trying to hit up there and let it bounce onto the green. But again, you can see this reaction that I have a lot with this hard pull to the right, and it's going to happen over and over today, as well as these chips that just seem to keep missing the range of the gimmies, and these putts that I can't quite get the feel of in terms of speed. But we just keep moseying along, and the next hole is a par 5. Again, you can see this very narrow approach off the tee that you have on these, but I've made a little bit of an adjustment to my driver here. That's a couple good strikes in a row. I find the absolute center of this fairway, and because it's a par 5, I'm not getting too aggressive. So I'm trying to just lay one up to the fairway here, but again, you can see these hard hooks to the right. This is going to be a very common visual for you if you continue watching this video. And if you are still watching, I just want to thank you very much. It's always appreciated when I get some views on these videos. It does help me know if people are enjoying this content if you click like, and if you don't do so already, click subscribe, because I just got a green in regulation, which is super rare for me in this round. And unfortunately, I don't reward you if you click like or subscribe because I just hammer that putt forward again. The comebacker just misses, but that is a 2-putt par, and considering there's a lot of struggles that I do have on this round, that's one of the key successes that we can see today. And I keep trying to make a bit of an adjustment on my iron strikes because of how much they're pulling to the right, so I set up pretty far left there. It still misses to the right of this pin, but at least that one bounced and stayed on the green. So now I'm trying to lag putt this one down. There's a bit of a ridge that, again, I cannot gauge the speed here. I just wave it goodbye as it zips past the hole, and then I'm struggling for a comebacker here. Just leave that one short. So a really unfortunate 3-putt bogey. I don't quite know exactly how many 3-putts I have in this round, but there are a few of them. You can tell I am frustrated off that putting because I absolutely shanked that drive. I have no option but to try and just punch out here. And unfortunately, I don't know how it reads exactly out of the rough, but it deemed that I did not hit that clean enough, and it basically just rolled through some rough. So I have to hook one around the tree. Really good choice of club there, as it almost holds the green, but a little bit too far because now I'm short-sighted trying to chip here, and thankfully that one does hold. I am very fortunate because I can finally leave the putter off on the wall here. So the next hole, I pull out a 5-wood because this is a lengthy par 3. It's about 220 yards. I teed it up, so I thought it was going to lose a little bit of distance, but I didn't quite hit it clean there, and it lost more than I expected. Get stuck up in the rough. I try to pitch this one on, and that's 2 in a row that the wedge game actually helps me out, and I just go right into that circle, and that hole ended up being a pretty straightforward par for me. And as you're watching this next hole, I would appreciate it if you could drop me a comment and let me know what you think of this content. Sometimes I do videos where I give some tips and suggestions about ways to break 80 or break 90, and other times I like to do videos where I'm literally just doing this, narrating you through how I played a hole, helping you think about some of the thought process that was happening with my shots and my attempts, and also sometimes just letting you know how human I am and the frustrations that I feel with this lovely and crazy game of golf. Because one of the things I am actually trying to do really hard this season is control my emotions. I want to be more stoic in my approach to this game because you're always left with challenges and frustrations in golf. As you can see me absolutely go back and forth on this hole. And my body language is uninspiring, I will say in this video. So if there is a takeaway that you can get right now, my main tip for you is to really control your mind. Golf is meant to be fun. It is meant to be relaxing. If you're like me and you're just an average golfer, but you do like to feel competitive and you always want to challenge yourself, get better, rounds like this can be frustrating, where I know that I am a golfer that has more skill than it kind of translates to here. But it really exacerbates my issues when you can see my shoulders just slumping after my shots. I just sort of nonchalantly walk as though I don't really care what I'm doing, and I really don't like to watch myself do this. So that was a really embarrassing hole for me right there, and I just want to kind of add a human element to it, that I am fallible. I have a lot of flaws within my golf game in particular, but I do realize between my ears is something I need to fix. Because when you look at a shot like that one on this par 3, that was a nice little baby draw with my 7-iron. I almost make that birdie putt. And when I just kind of relax and try to get the negative thoughts out of my mind, golf is certainly a lot easier. It is never an easy game, but it is always something that is going to get significantly harder if you start to beat yourself up or you start to just sort of like become apathetic and stop caring. So I've got a couple holes here back to back where things are going a little bit more clean. That putt leaves just short, and all I can really do now is take a breath. I wanted to laugh it off, but at that point I was still a little bit frustrated. And now that I'm looking back on it, I can laugh because this is just a fun, goofy indoor golf tournament. It's playing with handicaps, so there's a bunch of people sandbagging scores. That means I'm not even going to have a chance to be competitive anyway. But it really doesn't make things any better if I'm in a negative headspace. So you can see I pull that first drive off to the right. I just have a nice good fairway wood that kind of tucks around the corner there and gets back into space. And then you're going to see in a couple shots for the rest of this round that I actually start to pull off things pretty impressive. Like this one that, almost goes in. That would have been such a miracle birdie save, but it ended up being a really nice par. So I'm just going to maybe put a little bit of music on for the rest of these holes. If you've watched this far, thank you so much. You're going to see a couple more good shots. You're going to see a couple more bad shots. And at the end of the day, it's just a fun little golf video that I like to put up, and I appreciate you for being here. So let me step back, let you watch a little flub of a shot here. Ooh. And then for the rest of this time, I hope you have a lovely day.